Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrahashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Greetings to all of you. So very nice to see you all, seeing our Swamiji here and Swaminiji, and of course all our students. Very, very nice to see all of the Swamis. It's a great pleasure and great privilege. What we're going to discuss during these 10 days is the Chhandogyopanishad, the 8th chapter of Chhandogyopanishad, or rather the 7th chapter. And the reason why that is so is that we started classes on Chhandogyopanishad in 2018 with a view to talk of something that generally is not talked about, to give an idea of, because Chhandogyopanishad, Brihadaranyaka, usually they're not talked about, at least in the camps. And the texts are very elaborate, and therefore it is not possible to cover a given chapter in a short period that we have. So the style that we adopted was to select some passages. So 6th chapter is a long chapter, Chhandogyopanishad, selected passages which we can cover in the period of say 10 days or 8 days, whichever time is available, which gives you a complete idea of what that text has to communicate. And then one can go and study it in greater detail. So this is how we wanted to talk about Chhandogyopanishad, which has 8 chapters, of which the first 5 chapters are essentially devoted to upasana or meditations. So we did them as a group in the first camp in 2018. 2019, we discussed the selected passages from the 6th chapter, and then we had a break for 2 years, and now we'll discuss the selected passages from the 7th chapter. Before we go to that, I thought that we can look at what Upanishads do basically, what Vedanta does for us. That Vedanta addresses the basic need of the human beings. Vedanta addresses the basic needs in general, But inasmuch as the human beings possess an evolved self-consciousness. All creatures possess self-consciousness in some measure or the other, which is what enables them to survive and fulfill their basic instincts. That much self-consciousness every creature has. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam. How to appease hunger and survive. Nidra, taking rest. Bhaya, protecting oneself. Maithunam, propagating oneself. So these are the basic instincts that all the creatures have. And the Creator has provided the required self-conscious insight or self-consciousness, an insight into how to fulfill these basic needs. And therefore, the living beings, other than human beings, do not require any upadesha. Because whatever their needs are, there is not only a provision to fulfill those needs in the scheme of things, but there is also an insight in every creature as to how to go about and fulfill those needs. So cows know, buffaloes know, even amoeba, every creature knows what the needs are and how to fulfill those needs. And further, in the scheme of things, there is also a provision to fulfill those needs. Not only needs are created, but then the means of fulfilling those needs are also created. So trees know where to get their food through the roots, and how to interact with sunlight, etc., and how to propagate their life and expand. Every creature knows. It's a beautiful thing. Human being is most evolved in terms of, that is called evolution is self-consciousness. One way of describing evolution is evolution in self-consciousness. So perhaps the unicellular organism have the minimum self-consciousness. And beginning from that, the most complex and most evolved organism, the human being, has the highest degree of self-consciousness. Being conscious about oneself, being conscious of who I am, being conscious of what my needs are, in that kind of self-consciousness, human being is the most evolved. And therefore, he is aware of some needs that other creatures are not aware of because they don't have that sophistication of awareness to recognize what more basic needs are, and they need not worry about them. Human being is aware of even more fundamental basic need. That there is, we are born with a self-dissatisfaction. The human being is aware of, he is self-dissatisfied because he is keenly aware of a sense of lack or want or incompleteness, which of course every creature is. Not that those who are not aware of self lack is not lacking, but here not only I am lacking, I am keenly aware of my sense of lack or want, which is the result of the evolved self-consciousness. which is a great gift and which is a great problem. So whereas self-consciousness, I should say, evolved because we think that we only have self-consciousness. Everything has self-consciousness. Every creature has. And I don't know that even the mountains don't have. But that basic intelligence is built in everywhere. And therefore there is a natural tendency to maintain harmony. And so everything is, that is why we find nature also reacting in certain ways when we create disharmony. The nature reacts because it wants harmony. And so we have all kinds of global warming, all kinds of problems that we have is the nature's response to the damage that the human being is creating. So it looks like there is some built-in intelligence there also, because what we call unconscious or insentient also seems to respond or react in a very intelligent way. So one thing is sure, that intelligence is the very basis of everything. Whatever is intelligent, or intelligence pervades everything. But as I said, the consciousness that the human being has is a very evolved consciousness. Therefore, not only we are aware of our sense of lack or want, which everything is, whatever is created is lacking and wanting, what is created is incomplete. The creation is from the complete to the incomplete, from the one to the many, from the limitless to the limited. Why should it be? But that's what it is. Why should it be urged? So kamayata, bahusyam prajaya. He desired, may I become many, may I be born. Why? I don't know. That's like entering into a prison. Tat srishtva tadeva anupravishat. And so Ishvara created the whole universe. Upanishad says, Tat srishtva, having created tadeva anupravishat, he entered into that, like entering the prison. He created this body, mind, sense complex, entered into that. If entry was an intelligent entry, then it's okay. Like Devadatta entering the house to enjoy the house. But this entry is not an intelligent entry. Devadatta enters a house and starts declaring, I am the house. Similarly, Ishvara created all these names and forms, like a bird entering a nest. That's another example given in the Upanishad. So also he enters here. All of these are attempts to explain the reason for what is the reason for what we are feeling. So we are feeling something. We are feeling a sense of lack, want, incompleteness, which can be described as a sense of self-dissatisfaction. Although the Upadesha seems to be always be content, satisfied, and there is always a sort of an opposition to that, What do you mean, Swamiji? If you are satisfied, there will be no progress. How can there be progress where is satisfaction? That is also true. So whatever be the reason whether progress is required or not is a different matter. Or what we call progress is also something to be understood. But human being is born with a basic sense of self-dissatisfaction. It varies in degree. With tamoguna, one does not feel much dissatisfaction, even though it is there. With sattva-guna, there is not much dissatisfaction. With rajoguna, there is a strong sense of dissatisfaction. With rajoguna, a strong sense of a lack or want. And mostly rajoguna prevails in human beings. So when we say something about human being, we seem to be talking about every, but you can't, not every, but generally human beings are, they have a rajas in predominance, activity in predominance. And therefore, most of human beings have this strong sense of dissatisfaction. And impelled by that. So everybody is impelled. In that sense, there is no freedom in our life. Although we are given the free will, most of us, most human beings do not enjoy that free will because the human mind is impelled by something. Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit karyate hyavashah karma sarva prakruter gunaihi. Lord Krishna says that a person cannot sit quietly even for a moment. And if you have that problem, understand you have a lot of company. Swamiji, my mind goes here and there. You have company of the one including the speaker. That's how things are. Karyate shavasah karma sarvah prakrutijaihi gunaihi. Sarva, everyone. Then, of course, our Bhashyakara sort of qualifies the statement. There are always exceptions. Sarva should include everyone. Says no, there are exceptions. There are some wise people who are free from this description, so we leave them aside. We can count them on fingers, but we can leave that here mostly. Sarvaha prakrutiyahi gunaihi avashaha karma karyate. Essentially, everyone, without exception. Karyate is made, avashaha, helplessly, is impelled into action. Prakrutiyahi. It'll come back. It's a reminder, Swami, stop shouting. Speak slowly. Sarvaha prakrutiyahi gunaihi karma avashaha karma karyate. So more often than not, we are not performing actions with free will. We are made to do things. Rather, our doing things, we are made to do things. What makes us impel us to do things? That inner sense of dissatisfaction, discomfort. The discomfort that I am feeling with myself. No, this is to be, you know all, but then we have to keep this in mind. That it is the discomfort with myself that makes me do things. Even though I may like to believe that someone else made me do this, someone else is responsible for what I am feeling inside. Because that person said something, did not say something, did something, did not do something. I always want to find a reason for the way I am feeling within myself. Uncomfortable. Which discomfort can be described in many ways. That inner discomfort manifests in many ways. But unfortunately, my first tendency is to believe that that discomfort is caused by someone else. Usually someone else, not something else. Usually these things don't cause discomfort. Meaning insentient things usually do not cause discomfort. The mountains, the hills, the river, rocks, trees, etc. Human being. Some other human being does something, does not do something, and therefore our Swami used to say, Swami, you seem to be a little sad this morning. What's the reason? Swamiji, I have not received a letter from my parents for 3 months. You seem to be not happy this morning. What's the problem? Swamiji, I received a letter this morning. Why do I find, you're not in good mood this morning? Swamiji, do not get married. This fellow is also unhappy. What are you? Because I am married. Why are you unhappy? Swami, I don't have children. Why you? Because I have children. In all of these answers, one thing is clear, that someone else is responsible for what is happening to me. That is for sure. And as long as that is our conclusion, and usually it is, we always look for the solution outside of ourselves to solve the discomfort, and let me call the problem discomfort. That's the problem. Usually, you look out of ourselves to solve the problem of discomfort that we have with ourselves. And sometimes I am kind in doing that, sometimes not kind in doing that. Sometimes I react with anger, with resentment, with jealousy, with greed. Sometimes I am kind, compassionate. But this is a human life. And they always come up with prescriptions. Not only prescription of some lemon squeeze with something or the other, and Swami, take this in the morning. So all those prescriptions are there. What I should take early morning, mid-morning, before lunch, after lunch, at night, etc. Lots of prescriptions are there. More you complain, more prescriptions will be there anyway. So Swamiji stopped complaining, But the world gives us prescription anyway. They present before us a whole array of successful people. The Olympics comes, the IPL comes, the ODI comes, and the World Series comes, and now the Oscars will come, and we'll see a display of what successful, wonderful people are. And I have no reason to say that they're not. The only thing is we should ask them. The one who you think is successful, go and ask him or her, I should say. Because that her may be more in majority these days, which is fine. What do you think about yourself? In private, when nobody is listening, what person is open to you? How do you feel? The whole world declares you successful. Do you think that you are successful? If he is open with you, he or she will say that, I do not think I am successful. I do not think I am great. The whole world declares that person is great, as powerful, as strong, as successful, as accomplished. Go and ask that person. I don't think so. That I am great, that I am successful. Meaning that that person also does not have a great self-esteem. That person also does not think very highly of himself or herself. So this problem of self-esteem, of looking down upon oneself, not approving oneself, is a basic human problem. Nobody is an exception. Those who are successful or not successful. Should not say sarvaha means all. That will be too generalized a statement. There are always exceptions. But generally speaking, it is rare to find someone who approves of himself or herself, who is satisfied with himself or herself, who thinks well of himself or herself, who thinks highly. Those who declare I am great inside, the need to declare that I am greater than greatest shows that somehow inside the person doesn't feel. Why should he declare it? By declaring I am seeking other people's approval. I am seeking approval from others. So these are the basic problems we can, all the expressions of some problem that human being has, this self-dissatisfaction. And therefore, the basic need to feel satisfied with oneself is a basic need. Because if I am not satisfied with myself, I am not comfortable. That's called unhappiness. And if that feeling builds up, it can build up into sadness. If it builds up, it becomes depression. And so all the psychological or mental, emotional problems that we have, all of them have the root in the self-dissatisfaction. Oh, I may be too, what shall I say, arrogant in making a statement like that, because there are all experts, but as I understand, all the problems, emotional problems, or what they call psychological problems, every problem, and that is the only problem. We don't have intellectual problem, by the way. Intellectual problem is not our problem. Emotional problem is the problem. So merely intellectual solution is not our solution. The solution should come where the problem is. So human being has this emotional problem. And if it's not properly addressed, which we don't, because we do not understand the reason for this problem, in words of Puja Swamiji, you are the problem and you are the solution. I am the problem in as much as the dissatisfied I is a problem and the satisfied I is the solution. Says you are, the one title of our book is You Are the Problem, You Are the Solution. But the Swamiji can say, but if I were to say I am the problem, I am the solution. Which is a great diagnosis of the situation, There's a tremendous insight. This insight that I am the problem and I am the solution is a very profound insight. See, that is where the uniqueness of this teacher comes. That everything else is fine, but then these kind of profound insights, This Puja Swami possessed. I do not say, because I have not listened to anybody else basically, and that way I am not well informed person. But it is rare to find those kind of insights. When you have this insight, then you also analyze the text in this manner. If you want to analyze, say, Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, the purpose of which is to help us become happy, become free. Free from what? Or from cycle of birth and death. Various ways of freedom is described. Freedom from sadness, yes. But what causes sadness? If I am the problem and I am the solution, then I should look at myself for the understanding of problem of sadness and then the solution. So our Puja Swami used to say, I'm just repeating a lot of things, because I don't have much original stuff, so anyway I borrow and just read. So that's the advantage of being a disciple. You can simply, so we call it tape recorder, or a broadcasting station. Broadcasting station doesn't have anything original. It broadcasts what is given to that. And here also, used to say that there are problems which have solutions outside of the problem, which is what we normally assume. Problem of hunger, thirst, poverty, illiteracy, lots of problems are there. All of them have their solution outside the problem. Hunger requires food outside of myself. Thirst requires water outside of myself. Illiteracy requires education outside, etc., etc. And the means of addressing that problem must be compatible to the problem. If the problem is outside of this myself, then the solution must be compatible to that. But there are some problems which have the solutions within themselves. The example that Swami would give. Imagine there is, these children are given a little game of arranging the blocks so that you get a certain shape. So S, I don't know why he chose S, because of Swami or something, I don't know. But then he says, suppose you have to make an S. That STU, that S. Now, there are a number of blocks, because that S is cut off into many pieces and many blocks are there. You have to arrange those blocks to arrive at this final shape called S. So this is one kind of problem. Where is the solution? Not outside the problem. The solution is already within the problem, is it not so? What it calls for is arranging those pieces in a certain way so that you get the solution. You don't go out there searching Google, etc. as to how to do this. Maybe Google may have that, who knows, I don't know. They have a solution to everything. But this is one typical problem which has solution within itself. And the child keeps rearranging and doesn't get it, but maybe after some struggle he may be able to arrange it. So also this problem of human self-dissatisfaction. Does it have a solution outside of itself, or does it have a solution within itself? Every problem is supposed to have solution outside. And therefore, for my dissatisfaction, which builds up into self-unhappiness, self-non-acceptance, self-rejection, self-condemnation, sadness, depression, whatever other terms they may have. For this, the solution is within oneself. And that is the solution that Vedanta provides. So this evolved sense of self-consciousness makes us aware of the prevailing dissatisfaction. Not that dissatisfaction does not prevail in other creatures as dogs and cats. But fortunately, I should say, or unfortunately, they do not have the evolved self-consciousness to be aware of their lack or want or incompleteness. And they are, that's called blissfully ignorant or ignorantly blissful. Ignorance gives you bliss. Not knowing any problem. Doctors create problems so many times. Swami, there is some spot here that needs investigation. And then some biopsy must be done, this must be done. 6 experts will be there. Each will have something to contribute, some neurological thing and some phenomenological thing and all sorts of complicated terminologies there which I get lost in 1 minute. And they heatedly discuss everything among themselves and subject the Swami to 1500 kinds of tests. And thank God, the end is no problem. Or I hope that way, But then, this problem that we are talking about is so as long as you're ignorant what's going on within me, no problem. Ignorance is bliss. Then they find out some complicated terminology for what I'm supposed to have. And then create tension in me, and then the whole set of medications and stuff like that. So ignorance is bliss. All creatures, other than human beings, are ignorant. So there is no problem. A buffalo has no tension, no stress, no sadness, no emotional problem. Buffalo, I talk about buffalo because that seems to be really most blissful creature. When I go to work in the morning, buffalo is sitting in a puddle of mud in its own world. When I come back from work with all tense, what has happened to the workplace, that fellow is sitting right there. I feel jealous of buffalo. And people ask also, Swami, why are we made? It looks like the creatures are, happier than us. Why are we created? So, other than human being, there is no such thing as stress, no such thing as sadness, no such thing as depression. Although somebody says, Swamiji, that my dog feels depressed, I say, how long have I been staying with you? The thing is that I can transmit this thing to others also. But as they are made, my dog only eats only vegetarian food. No, that is right or wrong, I don't know. A dog is made to eat certain things. And you completely change it and then change the diet, and now my dog only eats milk and chapati. That's evolution in dog or what it is, I do not know. But that dog is likely to feel depressed also. Anyway, there is no reason for me to make any comments, etc., about anything. But then dogs are not supposed to have depression, that's all I can say. But when they are our pets and stay too long with us, then create in them also some emotional things, because they are getting some comfort which street dogs don't get. With this dog is not accustomed to. And now we have created something and now it gets accustomed to. And so it's likely that I guess we can invoke emotions in them which are buried within. So we make them self-conscious. I guess we must be contributing to something to evolving their self-consciousness so that they become aware of their emotions which Ishvara has not designed. But anyway, this is, by the way, there is nothing to do with what we are saying here. The point that I am making is that ignorance is bliss and we are very knowledgeable in that sense, very conscious people. So that creates all the problems and that can also create the solution. The consciousness of problem alone becomes a ground for solving the problem. There is no problem, no solution. Is born as a dog, dies as a dog. There is no goal in the life other than ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuram. Whereas, so this now purushartha comes, now that is a purushahi arthate, that which is sought by human beings. Artha or prayojanam, the purpose is there for all creatures of ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuram, or sukha prapti, dukkha nivritti. Acquiring happiness and getting rid of unhappiness. So this much awareness all the creatures have. Sukha prapti, that artha or prayojanam or purpose is there in all living creatures of acquiring happiness and getting rid of unhappiness. But purushartha, when you add purusha, means human being. Purushahi arthate. Every creature desires the acquiring of happiness and getting rid of unhappiness. Every creature, that artha is there, prayojanam is there, purpose is there in their living. Otherwise they won't even get up. Like these lions after eating food, you can see they're like lazy dogs. They do something when they get hungry, I guess, otherwise. So you will be surprised. Lion is like this. 4 lions are lying under the tree, like dogs. Only when they get hungry, I guess, they are impelled into activity. But purushartha, purushehi arthate, what is sought by human beings? Artha is there. There is purpose in creation, understand? Because the Creator wants the creation to go on. He has an agenda. Having created something, He wants it to propagate, wants it to perpetuate, I should say. And therefore, this kind of artha, prayojanam, the desire is given in all creatures so that his creation, he can afford to lie on his serpent bed in yoga nidra without doing anything, because he has put here something that it all self-perpetuating, and thus it will, the creatures are given that much awareness that they need happiness, want to get rid of unhappiness, etc. And so activity will go on. But purushartha, purushehi arthate, the human being has a greater, more sophisticated, that sukha prapti, dukkha nivritti is there. Acquiring happiness, getting rid of unhappiness is common. But now we have more sophisticated awareness more sophisticated intelligence, and then we can think of the ways of fulfilling that need. So that dharma, artha, kama, moksha, there were different categories of ends, and therefore means are there. Although all of you know that there are not 4 Purusharthas. How many Purusharthas are there? One. Which one? Moksha. Yeah? Although they talk of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, 4 Purusharthas, everybody knows, here at least, there are not 4 Purusharthas, only one. The Purushartha behind the Purushartha is moksha. But then, not that everybody is aware of that fact, that what I am seeking is moksha, that a rare few know. It's called mumukshu, although everybody is mukshu. By birth we are all mumukshus, meaning that we are desirous of moksha. And still they use the word mumukshu. Moktumichu, one who is desirous of moksha. Everybody is. And still, when we realize that the desire for moksha is behind all the desires, that recognition makes me a mumukshu. That recognition and also an awareness or alertness about that recognition. When we are in our right mind, we know, I know, it's moksha is the Purushartha. But very often I am taken over by my habitual error. And artha becomes my Purushartha. Kama becomes my Purushartha. And therefore, even, human being is a mumukshu, but does not always behave as a mumukshu. Behaves as an arthi, as a kami. Because those impulses are much stronger. The desire for artha, kama, etc. is much stronger than the desire for moksha, although it is there. So what is called viveka? That viveka, vairagya, so on and so forth. What is viveka? Recognizing that moksha is my primary need. Although technically nitya, nitya, vasu, etc., but if I put it in simple terms, viveka or discerning the basic situation in life is to recognize that moksha is my primary need. It is a need behind all the needs. I know Swamiji. Well, I know all right. But that knowledge should be translated also. That's where emotions come. This knowledge is here. Where? In my understanding. Which is, then I am a saint. But when that understanding does not become a practical thing for me, then I become what I am. Meaning that those other needs take over me, which I have inherited from the past, for artha and kama. So I am not alert, not conscious at that time the needs of artha and kama. Artha, wealth, kama, comfort, simply. Artha includes wealth, name, fame, etc. And kama includes all kinds of pleasures at different levels. But since we have been thinking that they are our primary needs, the conclusion has been that they are our primary needs, and therefore I have been so far devoted to fulfilling those needs as I understand my need. And therefore my life is usually devoted to fulfilling my need of artha and kama, because That is what I think are the real needs. And to recognize that moksha is my need is a great miracle, I tell you. It's a great blessing. Atha vyavasthitan društva. So looking at that word atha, athato, that word atha, the Vedanta thing is a very important word. So even the utterance of word atha is mangalam, is also auspicious. So when the word atha is used, then something auspicious is going to happen. Case of Arjuna, atha vyavasthitan društva dhartarashtan kapidvajah. Kapidvajah. One was Kapi in his Dvaja. Who is that Kapi? Arjuna has a Kapi in his. Who is that? Hanuman, right? Kapi means chanchalatvam also. But anyway, so Kapidvajah. Dhartarashtan vyavasthitan društva. Seeing all the Dhartarashtas very well arranged and ready to fight. Then what happened is all sadness, etc., etc. But still, that is the beginning of auspiciousness. Arjuna never felt like this before. He had fought many battles without any conflict at all. Even he fought with this same army 3 months ago when he was in the kingdom of Virat. Is it not so? And he drove them all back single-handedly. That's what the description is. And today, Dhartarashtran, when he says Dhartarashtra, Asat Vyavasthitan Društva Dhartarashtran Kapidvajah. What did he see there? Dhartarashtan. Who is the Dhartarashtra? The descendant of Dhritarashtra. Yes, Kaurava, that's right. But Dhartarashtra is important. But Dhritarashtra, he's his, like father. Dhartarashtras are all his cousins and brothers. So seeing all those fellows before Lord, so already the seed is there. And then Lord Krishna says, Pashaitan Kuru Nidhi. Very mischievously Lord Krishna says, look at the Kurus around here. That Dhartarashtra is already there. And Lord Krishna says, look at the Kurus here. Why do you have to use the word Kuru? Could I also say, look at your enemies here? Is it not so? If Lord Krishna had said, look at your enemies here, then you would have seen enemies. Pashaitan Kuru Nidhi, look at the Kurus here, look at the Dhartarashtras. Anyway, that word atha is used there. There is auspicious beginning. Even sadness also is auspicious. For Arjuna, even the sadness also became very auspicious. Because that became the basis of receiving the teaching from Lord Krishna. So if that auspicious thing happens in our life, why? I don't know. What happened to Arjuna? How all of a sudden this happened to him? Now we can say that Arjuna is a blessed person. He is Lord Krishna as his charioteer, who is always his well-wisher. Suhrudam, I am Suhrud, well-wisher of all the beings, the right embodiment of that. So I guess Arjuna is lucky that in place of that well-wisher, this thing happened to him. And moha arose in him. The delusion took place. What is the delusion? What is the moha in Arjuna's mind? What's the moha? Why does Bhashyakara say shoka, moha? So shoka and moha are the problems that Bhagavad Gita addresses. What is the moha in Arjuna's mind? Attachment, right. Attachment to whom? To all? Okay. Not to all, but anyway, to the fellows who are in the armies. So what's new about that? Are they not? Bhishma Pita is not his grandfather? And Dronacharya is not his guru? What's wrong with that? Tatra pasyasthitan partha pitrun, atha pitamahan, acharyan, maturan, dhratrun, putran, paunstram. So what's wrong with that? There were his gurus and grandfathers and cousins and sons and friends, were they not? So what's new that he saw? He saw what was there, is it not so? No? He saw what is there. I don't know what's the problem here. Why do they call it a problem? Why should Arjuna feel sad all of a sudden? He sees his, guru and grandfather and cousin and friends and son and so forth and so on. Is that wrong? Is there something wrong in what he sees? Is there something wrong in what he sees? Is Abhimanyu not his son? And Dronacharya not his guru? And Bhishma not his grandfather? What's wrong with what he sees? This, in the battlefield, there is no guru and no shishya, understand? This guru shishya is where at home. Is it not so? Like in the college, the professors 11 and the students 11, 11 cricket teams are there and playing with each other. And my professor is batting and I'm the bowler. My professor! How will I bowl? Give me a full toss or something? Oh, my disciple! No, I should not hit a boundary. Is that how we should act? The cricket field is not a professor, I'm not a student. Is it not so? He belongs to the opposite side. And now this is where the conflict comes. Should I bowl as a student? Or should I bowl as a bowler? Should I bowl as belonging to this side or should I bowl as this is my professor? Attachment is result of under perception, understand? Nothing wrong in being attached to a guru. I don't say it's wrong. And for a human being, to have feeling for a grandfather, you cannot be just, Vedanta does not teach that you become inhuman. Don't understand that way. You remain a human being. Lord Krishna also should remain as a human being. How can he feel what Arjuna is feeling? But they feeling at the wrong place. This is called superimposition. The feelings that should have been there at home, in the palace, in that setup, is superimposed, transferred in psychological language to the battlefield. Therefore it is wrong. His feeling, emotion is not wrong. Tam tasa krupaya avishtam ashrupurna kolekshanam. Krupaya avishtam. He was overcome by krupa, by this feeling. Krupa means pity also. Or krupa also means the emotional feeling that you have. He was overcome by that at a wrong place. You follow? So don't think Vedanta dismisses feelings. Attachment is not presence of feeling. It is in a wrong place in a wrong way. You follow? Love is not, attachment is love, but in a wrong place. Don't think Vedanta teaches that there should be no love in life. In fact, love should be only made free from all this stuff. So it becomes a real love. We love, but then there is a lot of mixture inside. There is an agenda also when I love somebody. Vedanta teaches love, but without agenda. So you learn to love without agenda. That's what is also moksha, is one of the things. Anyway, so Atha, what I'm saying is that the things which was all in there came out, And then only you can solve. If I don't know what's happening in my body, nothing, when these fellows, some spot is there, and a lot of things come out from there, then only there can be a solution to the problem. So problem known alone can bring about a solution. That's what happened to Arjuna. But what I'm saying is that's how the transformation, Arjuna became a mumukshu. He is a mumukshu. But recognize that moksha is my real desire. Yash shreyasya nishtam bruhitan me shishyasteham sadhimam tva yash shreyasya nishitam shreyasyat. That by which I can get shreya. Nischitam shreya. My well-being, happiness. But happiness is assured happiness which comes and doesn't go away. He recognized what his need was. It's always there. Recognize what this is called, I would call it viveka, you follow? So this is how Vedanta begins in our life. That's what Upanishad teaches also. And we'll continue in our next class, this discussion. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamalaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.